Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today in Unit 13, Agrarian Classes and Categories, we are going to start our lecture with topic Feudalism as a type of agrarian society. Historically, the concept of feudalism has generally been used for social organization that evolved in parts of Europe after the tribal groups settled down and became regular cultivators. With the success of the Industrial Revolution during the 18th and 19th century, feudal societies disintegrated, giving way to the development of modern capitalist economies. However, over the years, the term feudalism has also come to acquire a generic meaning and is frequently used to describe the pre-modern agrarian settlement in other parts of the world as well. Compared to the concept of peasant society, the term feudalism conveys a different notion of agrarian class structure. Cultivators in feudal societies were seen as a subordinate class. The land they cultivated did not legally belong to them. They only had the right to cultivate the land whose legal owners was usually the overlord or feudal lord or the king. The distinctive feature of the agrarian class structure in feudalism was the structure of dependency and patronage that existed between the cultivators and the overlords. The cultivating peasants had to show a sense of loyalty and obligation towards their overlords. This sense of loyalty was expressed not only by paying a share of the produce of land to the landlord, but very often the peasants were also obliged to work for the overlord and perform certain duties without expecting any wages in return. The system of begar mean unpaid labor, popular in many parts of India until some time back, would be an example of such a system. Now the next point is contemporary agrarian societies. The spread of industrialization in the Western countries during the 19th century and in rest of the world during the 20th century has brought about significant changes in the agrarian sector of the economy as well. We can identify two important changes in the agrarian economy that came with the industrialization and development. First, the agriculture lost its earlier significance and became only a marginal sector of the economy. For example, in most countries of the West today, it employs only a small proportion of the total working population, and its contribution to the total national income of these countries is not very high. In the countries of the third world too, the significance of the agriculture has been declining over the years. In India, for example, though a large proportion of the population is still employed in the agricultural sector, its contribution to the total national income has come down substantially. Though it continues to employ more than half of the India's working population, the contribution of the agricultural sector to the national income is less than 25%. The second important changes that has been experienced in agrarian sector is in its internal social organization. The social framework of agricultural production has experienced a sea change in different parts of the world during the last century or so. The earlier modes of social organizations such as feudalism and the peasant societies have disintegrated, giving way to more differentiated social structures. This has largely happened due to the influences of the processes of industrialization and modernization. The modern industry has provided a large variety of machines and equipment for carrying out farm operations, such as plowing and threshing. These technological advances made it possible for the landowners to cultivate large areas of land in lesser time. Scientific researches have also given them chemical fertilizers and high-yielding varieties of seeds. The introduction of new farm technologies has not only increased the productivity of land but has also led to significant changes in the social framework of agricultural production. The mechanization and modernization of agriculture made it possible for the cultivating farmers to produce much more than their consumption requirements. The surplus came to the market. They began to produce crops that were not meant for direct consumption of the local community. These cash crops were produced exclusively for sale in the market. The cultivators also needed cash for buying new inputs. In other words, the mechanization of the agriculture led to an integration of agriculture in the broader market economy of the nation and the world. The mechanization of agriculture and its integration in the broader market economy has also in turn transformed the social relations of production, leading to the development of capitalist relations in the agrarian sector. This capitalist development in agriculture has transformed the earlier relations of the patronage and loyalty into those that are instrumental in nature. The growing influence of market and money meant that the relations among the different categories of population became formalized without any sense of loyalty or obligation. However, not everyone benefits from the mechanization process equally. The market mechanism put various kinds of economic pressure on cultivating peasants. Some of them get trapped and become indebted eventually, selling off their lands and becoming landless laborers. Similarly, those who worked as tenants are generally evicted from the land being cultivated by them and are employed as wage servant by the landowners. While some among the cultivating population become rich, others are left with small plots of lands. In other words, this leads to differentiation of the peasantry into new types of grouping. The peasantry gets divided into different strata or classes. The attitude of the peasants towards their occupation also undergoes a change. In the pre-capitalist or the traditional societies, the peasants produced mainly for their own consumption. The work on the field was carried out with the labor of their family. Agriculture for the peasantry was both a source of livelihood as well as a way of life. They began to look at the agriculture as an enterprise. They work on their farms with modern machines and produce cash crops that are sold in the market. Their primary concern becomes earning profit from cultivation. Thus, the peasants are transformed into enterprise farmers. The agrarian societies and also lose their earlier equilibrium. Farmers, unlike the homogeneous peasantry, are a differentiated lot. They are divided into different categories or classes. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.